Welcome, everybody. Have you got the clicker there? To Humanizing AI, inspired by The Wizard of Oz. Can I have a show of hands who hasn't heard of The Wizard of Oz? Got that.
That's great.
So as you can see, we're a bit informal. We're set to call it a fireside chat, and I thought, well, we're at a pool resort, so this is a very informal chat. Any questions, shoot out. If we don't get through the slide deck, we're really good with that. Interactive and informal. So we really hope you do enjoy it. And that's me, heavily photoshopped.
Not with AI, right?
Pardon?
Was that with AI or no?
It was with AI.
There you go.
So just very quickly introducing myself before we kick off. I'm Katrina McDermott, co-founder and director of a company called HIT Global. I'm creator of Humanizing IT, and I'll explain what that is in a moment. And I'm also a contributing ITIL author of ITIL 4. So I know the books are out the back, and if you pick the book up, I'm the back. And this is also my book called Humanizing IT, as part of what we'll be discussing today. And that's also, as I said, available at the back. And I'm an ITIL master, the old type. That I had to write 2 theses and study 2 years. And the reason I say that is not to big note myself, a little bit it is, but I do know a lot about ITIL and IT service management. I studied it for many, many years, ITIL master, and I said contributing author, and it is relevant to our discussion today. And if you can connect with me on LinkedIn too, guys, I would love that. Awesome. I'd love to keep in contact with you all. Thank you.
Second. All right. Perfect. I'll start where you ended. Feel free to connect with me as well. There's a QR code. So my name is Wesley Eugene. I'm a partner and CIO at IDEO. For those of you who don't, show of hands, how many of you have ever heard of IDEO? Cool. At the end of this presentation, everyone's hands will go up. But a really short blurb on IDEO is that IDEO is a global design and innovation firm. We didn't invent design thinking, but our work made it famous. And some of our iconic designs and clients are like when Steve Jobs wanted to figure out how to deliver an Apple mouse to the market. The original Apple mouse, he came to IDEO. We designed it. The Palm 5, I'm dating myself a little bit, but we designed that as well. More recently, products like Simply Safe, the Ford F-150 Lightning. Anybody own that Ford F-150? Okay, well, in Georgia, this goes over really big. But, but there you go. But the F-150 Lightning is one of our products as well. Yeah, I'm super excited to be talking about humanizing AI with Kat.
And I just want to interrupt for a moment. Human-centered design, which we'll talk about in a moment to give a brief overview. When I studied human-centered design, IDEO is like the mothership, if you will. It's like Axelos, like IDEO is famous. So all those people that do design thinking and marketing and digital experience are very au fait with IDEO. And as those people don't know ITIL and IT service management, we really don't know much about IDEO in the IT world. And as I said, when I was studying it and learning about IDEO, an amazing company it is, I never ever thought in a million years I'd be sitting on stage with the CIO of IDEO. And it goes to show that Wes is a very busy man, obviously, a very well-connected man, but he saw something in what we were doing and took the time to reach out to me. And to this day, my designer friends are so jealous of me that I've got the CIO of IDEO as a friend, as also on the stage. So I just wanted to call that out. So thank you, Wes, very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Your work speaks for itself.
Thank you. Thank you.
So here we are, following a yellow brick road.
That's right.
Right? So we'll be talking a little bit about some of these items here.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah,
What is human-centered design? What is humanizing IT? What is humanizing AI? Right? So,
what is human-centered design? Does anybody not heard of human-centered design? It's okay, because I hadn't heard of human-centered design when I was studying ITIL. You haven't heard of it? I love that you haven't heard of it. I love that you haven't heard of IDEO, because it is my mission for all IT professionals to become familiar with human-centered design and humanizing AI. So we've got a fantastic clip that Wes is going to show exactly what it is.
yeah, it's really beyond a framework. It's a way of thinking, and we'll see it illustrated here. Take a moment. Find my mouse. There it is.
This is the first Apple computer mouse. It came with Apple's $10,000 Lisa computer, and it was designed by a product design consulting firm that would eventually become known as IDEO. The assignment was straightforward. They had to take the computer mouse, a $400 device at the time, and bring it down to under $35, make it mass producible and reliable. And above all, it needed to be simple.
We control Lisa by pointing to these images on the screen with this unique item called a mouse.
Fast forward about 30 years, and IDEO doesn't really create products anymore. They've transitioned to designing networks and experiences, things like Los Angeles' voting system and the Red Cross's method for finding donors, even entire schools. So what does making a computer mouse have to do with creating a school system from scratch? It turns out, quite a lot.
The world we live in is one where really the complex things are the things that are mostly broken, not the simple things. We have lots of great products, lots of beautiful products, lots of products we can use every day. Everything from furniture to tableware to consumer electronics. They're mostly pretty good, right? And yes, there's opportunity to do better and do more. But I'm interested in the things that don't work very well and the things that you can impact society with. And they're mostly the more complex things.
Back in 1971, a designer named Victor Papanek wrote a book called Design for the Real World. The premise was pretty simple. Creators could take some of the same design strategies from the creation of industrial products and use them to tackle problems like pollution and overcrowding and food shortages. By 2001, IDEO had done just that, pivoting from products to real-world experiences. But the design steps? Tim Brown says they stay just about the same.
The first piece is observing the world in order to ask an interesting question, right? And you can observe the world in lots of different ways. When we talk about human-centered design, we're really talking about observing the way humans live their lives and asking interesting questions about, hey, why does somebody do this and not that? Or why is somebody struggling with this problem? Why is it hard for somebody to open that, why are they struggling to open that jam jar lid? Well, so maybe I could redesign the jam jar lid, right? Or maybe I could give them a tool to help them, right? So why is this happening? So the first step is that looking at the world and coming up with a good question.
For making a mouse, that means watching how people use computers and observing what they want and what they don't. For designing a school, that meant spending a month in Peru, meeting with students and parents, teachers, investors, government and business leaders to address needs like academic planning, modular classroom space, accessible technology, and affordable tuition.
The next step is taking all the insights you have about those questions and starting to imagine ideas, like here's what I could do, here's what I might imagine doing better or differently. So that's what we often call ideation or idea making.
Then comes the fun part. You test it out.
Right at the beginning of the process, it might be a really simple cardboard model or a quick sketch, or if it's digital, it might be a quick digital simulation or something. And you try it out with people.
Sometimes those drafts can be pretty rough. The first prototype for the mouse was a roll-on deodorant stick and a butter dish from a Palo Alto Walgreens.
And you test it and see, and it doesn't work. Okay, so I need to rethink my idea, and I do it again, right? And this is where the iteration comes in, right? You learn from the prototype, you realize what's not working, or maybe it's a crummy idea, you have to go back and find a new idea again. And you go through that loop over and over again, asking the question, having ideas, prototyping, learning, and until you get to something that truly meets somebody's needs or a set of people's needs. Now, the last bit of the process, which arguably happens in that iteration, also is the storytelling piece, right? Because always you're trying to explain to people why your idea is interesting.
Macintosh, the computer for the rest of us.
I think what you need to design a complex system is not one brain, you need lots of brains. You need lots of brains with different perspectives, different creative contributions that they make, working together to get to an outcome that is literally rich enough and sophisticated enough to be able to behave like a system instead of being like an object.
I love that video. So you see the 4 key steps in there, really critical, right? And applicable to everyday life, as we're about to get into, and super applicable to IT, super, super, super applicable to AI. So, Kat, what in the world is humanizing IT?
I'm going to answer that in a moment. I've also got a short video to show you. But just before you do, I love that video also. And every time I see it, I always think of IT service management or ITIL. And I'll ask this again later, but who's got a functional CMDB?
That wasn't meant to be a joke. That was a totally serious question.
It was. So no matter where I go, I'm fortunate enough to speak at a lot of places around the world, in a lot of countries, I get the same response. Now, what I want to do, so humanizing IT at its core integrates what you just saw with ITIL or IT service management. When we create these processes, we jump into solution mode. We think that because what the frameworks say is the best way to do it. Well, in fact, I totally disagree with that. And we need to start thinking differently because I think it's fundamentally broken. As I said, the fundamentals aren't even in place. Thank you. Thank you. So on that note, think about the video, and then if you could look at this we're about to show you. Thank you. Technology.
There it is.
We go. So you can find your contacts.
Yes.
But you don't know how to add somebody.
Yeah.
Do you know how to send a text message to somebody?
Is that like an email?
Yeah. So if you want to text one of your children to say you're running late.
Oh, I see. Let me see. If I look up. Yes, I've got an email address. So if I press that, I can now type in what I want to send. But do you have to always put a subject?
No.
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 So you can move that. Do you have to move that cursor?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure how to move the cursor, you see.
And so I would say that is, as I said, I really appreciate you doing this, Hilary, because
No, that's fine.
watching you, and it is with all due respect, because you are very, there's nothing wrong with your mind, your memory, or anything. You're a very smart, active lady, and a simple thing, and again, due respectfully, as sending a message to your children, you can't do. Essentially, you find it with some difficulty.
Oh, I've moved the cursor.
Yay!
And I think it would have been quicker to ring him up.
So that's Hillary. She's at the retirement village where my mum is. But it's a very powerful video. Can anybody relate to that? Yeah. And this is what I mean, that in IT and IT service management, I don't think we're really good at understanding it from the user's perspective. And a key tenet of human-centered design is empathy and involving the users in the design process. And I was fortunate enough to go into Greg Sanker's class yesterday teaching ITIL, and I said to the students, have you ever watched any of your users read your knowledge articles and try to do the function that you've said? We write knowledge articles. Guess what? We work in tech. We're not good at writing. That's not really our forte. But, we say users are lazy. We've written knowledge articles. They just prefer to call the service desk. And so what we need to do is all those things we talked about, you saw in the video, start including them in ITIL or IT service management. And essentially that is humanizing IT. If we just move to the next one. So as we said, it integrates human-centered design into IT service management. And I do like to call this up. When I studied my ITIL Masters, I had to study in those days version 3. All the books, I had to read them inside out, back to front. I knew them. And what I found out in all those books, thank you, Wes, there was not one picture of a human. Yeah. And that was a real aha moment. And I think that's why us in IT, we're not really good at experience, because we weren't really taught about it. We were taught to follow processes and inputs and outputs. And this is the best way, because this is what it said. And we never challenged it. And human-centered design challenges everything till we get to the right solution. Thank you. So what we want to say is go from creating a process to first understanding the human experience. And as Tim Brown said, he's the chair on the board, Tim Brown.
That's right.
Yeah. That it's, what is the user trying to do? What's the need? And as we said, it's a book and an online training course. Yes, a little plug. Thank you.
So, Kat, what in the world is humanizing AI? I mean, you've kind of taken us on a journey, start understanding what humanizing IT is. Mm-hmm. What's humanizing AI?
Well, we've got to wait and see. But essentially, it is based on the foundational principles of humanizing IT, is that us IT professionals will be involved in AI, whether we like it or not. We probably really are. And I want all of us to understand what human-centered design is, to study it. And what AI is, we'll continue to learn. So let's keep going. Thanks. The marvelous map.
Well, we did promise Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. Here we are. We know that Dorothy had to find her way through Oz to eventually get home. At least that's the premise of the story. She had a map, right?
Exactly. And what do we have? The marvelous map of IT service management. We navigate through it to get where we want to be. But as time has changed, I don't think Dorothy now would get out a map, a paper map. Who does that anymore? What we're really passionate about is bringing that same type of technology into AI and IT service management. So somewhere over the rainbow,
thank you for calling the IT Help Desk. Your call is very important to us. Please listen carefully to the following options. Press 1 to order new shoes. Press 2 to view your previous destination. Press 3 to hear about the latest upgrades. Press 4 to speak to an operator.
Hello, my name is Lena. Can I start with your asset number, please?
Hi, my name is Dorothy, and I seem to be lost. I don't know what my asset number is. Can you tell me how to get home, please? Hi, Dorothy. I'm so sorry to hear you are lost. Let me check our known error database. Oh, yes, I have found the solution to get you home. Please trace back your steps from the moment you got lost. Thank you for calling the IT Help Desk. Have a great day.
That's not how we want AI to operate in the future. And as we'll talk about in a moment, we've done a pretty rubbish job of chatbots most of the time. And again, this is our opportunity through design thinking to create a really great experience in AI.
Quick challenge. So when we talked about whether or not everyone's familiar with the story of the Wizard of Oz, no one raised their hand. Everybody basically attested to the fact that you're super familiar. Do we have a volunteer in like 60 seconds to just take us through the Cliff Notes? What? Oh, she shook her head no. It made me want to say yes. But any volunteers? 1, 2, anyone? Anyone? Cool. She has courage.
So there was this tornado, and it whacked Dorothy in the head. Dorothy was our protagonist. Her house got flown up in the air, landed in a fantasy world full of little short people called munchkins. Dorothy wanted to get home. There was somebody with shoes underneath the house, and she took the shoes because it's a chick flick. The sister of the person who had the house drop on her said, take these shoes and go and talk to the wizard guy and in the Emerald City, follow that yellow road, and that's how you're going to get there. So she followed the yellow road. She encountered all kinds of obstacles. She got to the Emerald City, met the wizard, was sent off on a quest, wound up. Depending on which version of the Wizard of Oz you saw, I just saw Wicked, so I have a different perspective on it now. Killed the Wicked Witch of the West and took the shoes, used them to get home after discovering that the wizard was not, in fact, what she thought he was to begin with.
Whoa. Beautiful, beautiful. It's an awesome story. No matter what version you're familiar with, still rings true today. Dorothy's journey, right, through Oz, like you said, it was a fantastical journey. And I think, honestly, Kat, we're finding ourselves in a fantastical world of AI. It's confusing. Folks are like, what does this mean? What does this mean to my job, my career, my family? What does this mean to IT, ITSM?
And what can it do, Wes, when we were researching what AI can do for IT service management?
Well, I'm super excited because when you think about it, the automation that can be driven through these intelligent agents are really incredible. I mean, we're talking about capabilities to extend beyond what we know today, to extend the capabilities of self-healing, to enhance predictive analytics on a level we've never seen before, the ability to anticipate user needs and to interact with them just frankly like a person would. The ability to be creative is what sets this generation of AI technologies apart from everything that we've known before. So it's super exciting.
So you're saying things like you can do predictive analysis, monitoring, know the user, personalized experience. That's what AI will bring. Dorothy's got something to say to you, Mr. CIO. So Dorothy's going to ask, but haven't we had this technology for decades? We've got all the best tools out there, but monitoring, all this stuff that says it's been promising to do. What's going to be different?
Yeah. So there've been some complications with the way we've used AI in the past, right? Just a few. First and foremost, if you give a robot poor instructions and ask them to do it 1 million times, they will carry those million instructions out and create millions of tickets and create millions of hours of work for you to undo. So that's a problem, right? In the past as well, it's been super expensive. Let's be honest. Like, to get the latest and greatest, I know many of us may be ServiceNow customers or Freshworks or, Surewell, so on and so forth. Really cool capabilities, they're never free. Right? And so there's the process of trying to get any of this cool tech funded. In the meantime, you're stuck using duct tape and bubble gum to connect what you do have deployed in your environments with the expectations of your end users.
Yeah. And I also think that, we have amazing tools out there. And I think why we have not done as great as we could have is because we're not thinking about it in the right way, using design thinking as the core of what we do. Start with the people and then design. And we need to do that with AI. And again, Wes, I did ask you the other day, as a CIO, how's your CMDB?
It's functioning. For real, it is. I didn't make that up. But another question is, do my end users care? The answer to that would be no. Because ultimately, until they understand how any of these underlying capabilities impact their experience, it really doesn't matter to them.
It doesn't, but it matters to us.
True.
To give a better experience. And as I said, I think that we already have all these tools out there. And throwing another tool on the problem, such as AI, is not going to 100% solve it unless we approach it the right way.
So, Kat, in this illustration, you have IT crossed out, AI supersized, right? I mean, you're taking IT out of ITSM?
Yes.
What's the point?
What's the point? Does anybody know the purpose of IT? What was the purpose of IT? I like asking IT professionals this. Yes. And it was to automate business processes. That was what IT was for, automate business processes. I learned that when I did my master's. And AI, I believe, will be taking that away. So it's going to be AI service management, not IT service management. I think IT as we know it is going to be very, very different. And it's, as we're sort of alluded before, it's very scary. I mean, we've all used ChatGPT. Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it? It's just the beginning. And it's going to be a very scary world out there. And we need, as IT professionals, to learn these skills and to do it right. And I think the time is right for that. So that's why I took IT out of it and AI service management.
I ain't dropping big bombs here.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Okay. So right here.
So when Wes and I were preparing for this conference, Wes brought up a really good point. There's people out there that is salivating. What did you say? Chomping at the chomps?
Chomping at the bit.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. And who is that, Wes?
So I would go ahead. I did not get his prior authorization to say so, and it's not directed personally at my CFO. But I would say CFOs for sure are chomping at the bit about the opportunities that generative AI present, because them, CEOs, shareholders, board members, they're all trying to what? Maximize shareholder value. We all heard that term before. And they're looking at this opportunity as the single biggest opportunity in a generation to streamline business operations and improve the bottom line. It's just no question about that. CFOs are probably saying, "Oh, I could fire my CIO," or perhaps I could at least demote them to a service manager. Or, maybe I could, reduce the total size of my technology department by a factor of 50, a factor of 70. Those are the questions, and those are what they see as opportunities.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. Thank you.
So,
who needs courage? As you said, we're here I think it's an exciting time, not a scary time. And I think what we need to do, as I said, is to learn new skills. And that's, I think, takes courage, that change is happening. Is anyone scared of what's happening in the world of AI out there? Yeah, I am, very, very much so. As I said, it's just the beginning. But it's rather than being scared, because actually that initially said who's scared, it's about who needs courage. We all do, and I think it's a great opportunity also.
Yeah, so when I'm encountered with fear, and the fear is natural, it's the reason why we're still here, folks, right? Fear, it's not a bad thing. But ultimately, your response to fear is what's important, right? Are you going to stop in your tracks and freeze? Or are you going to use it as an opportunity to unlock creativity? when I think about folks who need courage in this world of AI, I am thinking about everyone who works in IT. You need courage to embrace this technology, to learn about it. But I think too about our political leaders. Our governments need the courage to put aside their petty squabbles, learn to function together, and come up with some unifying global standards that will protect all of humanity with this. This is an Oppenheimer moment. And so we need our political leaders to come together. I think our academic leaders and institutions need to come together and factor this in to the future of learning. The ways we've learned before no longer work. And this technology is wildly, wildly disruptive to those patterns. And so there are quite a few folks, CIOs, CTOs, technology leaders technology leaders across the enterprise need courage as well to lean into this change and to integrate it with service management and deploy more excellent services going forward. So,
Mr. CIO again. What is the relevance of frameworks like iTool or Agile, given what we're seeing today and what AI can do? It's scary. What's your thoughts on it, Wes?
I think it's really interesting. So we're on ITIL 4, right? We're going to move to ITIL 5, right? I don't think ITIL 5 ultimately will be written by women and men. I think ITIL 5 will be written by AI. I think the next version of the evolution of Agile and DevSecOps will be written, at least co-authored by AI. So let's take an example, Kat. How many of you are familiar with Agile or use it every day? Exactly, okay. So how many of you do retrospectives? Fantastic, okay. What does a retrospective mean when you have an AI co-pilot who's on your team? Do you really need to wait 2 weeks to figure out what's going wrong? AI can continuously retrospect. Machine learning is part of this. So I'm thinking every hour, every minute of every day, it's learning, surfacing new insights and saying, hey, who knows? The end of a retrospective with AI might be, can we have a few more AI teammates and a few less humans? I don't know, right? But ultimately, the point is that when we look at all of these frameworks, they have to be written with AI in mind. And if they're not actually designed with AI in mind and with an aspect of understanding the entire human experience, then they'll be obsolete.
And we talked about processes such asset management. Who does asset management? Who's got it on a spreadsheet? And the process that we're all familiar with from asset management to incident management, with AI, that's all going to change. As you were saying, Wes, that you could get someone in a weekend and do the asset process for you and do an app.
I mean, you think about it. Sometimes from a standpoint of trying to move ITSM forward, technology leaders are faced with making millions of dollars in investments and looking at a 2 or 3 year roadmap. Well, now with generative AI, we can bring in some IT interns from the local university who's been playing around with these large language models and say, here's a problem. We want you all to try to solve it. And they could bury themselves for a weekend and come up with a prototype by Monday. That's the reality. That's actually good news. And because some of our advancements in ITSM have been hamstrung by investment. Like, I've got to actually convince the CFO and the board to go ahead and give me a couple million to get IT asset management right. I don't have to do that anymore. Which means that we can see rapid improvement.
And even knowledge management. Matt, my dear friend, was saying your amazing tool does knowledge, the new feature. And that's going to impact how we used to do knowledge management as a process. We used to need an owner a common repository, had to be updated every 6 months or whatever it was. All those things that we know about these processes are really going to become obsolete. And I think the relevance of frameworks as we know it today is going to be completely different. But as Wes says, it's such a great opportunity. It's because I think what I find exciting about it is who wants to sit there and do password resets manually and chase up users, and you know what I'm talking about. We don't want to do that stuff. We want to do the more exciting stuff that AI will enable us to do.
Absolutely. So, Kat, what do ITSM transformations do now?
Yeah, and the reason that we put this question up is that, again, as I said, I'm fortunate enough to work around the world, so I'm very privileged to have that opportunity. And most companies I go to, if not all, are doing some type of transformation. Are you guys doing any improvements, transformations? You're working on it because that didn't work, you're doing another one. My concern is that we're designing these transformations of the past, not the future. We're trying to improve how we did things before. I think we need to stop and look at what is happening in the future. Stop investing your money in that. Again, I'm quite passionate about it because, unfortunately, I think in a year's time, we're going to be looking at a very, very different landscape. So plan for the future, not try and make the past better.
Oh, I love that. I would just make one point on that. I really think that when we think about digital transformation, Kat, you're absolutely right. It's really incremental technology modernization that we've repackaged and put lipstick on. But ultimately, let's think about the last 3 years. So we all of us lived through 2020, for better or worse, right? And so we were hit with the pandemic. And when we were hit with the pandemic, all of a sudden, organizations, very old, very rigid organizations, got very, innovative, and went under radical transformation, very digital in nature, and changed their entire business models, supply chains, and everything. Again, even now with generative AI, we have another wave of true digital transformation driven by disruption and driven by outside forces. So it seems that the real digital transformations happen to us oftentimes and are driven by us.
Yep. So who is the Wizard of AI?
Oh, some would say his name is Jeffrey Hinton. Anybody heard of him? Godfather of AI, used to work at Google, quit so he could speak freely. Some might say Sam Altman, America's #1 tech bro. He, leads OpenAI, really brilliant guy. And some may say, it's the head of Google, it's the head of Microsoft, right? All of them are brilliant leaders. But ultimately, the story of the Wizard of Oz lands us in a place where Dorothy looks and discovers that the wizard is what? Just a human being. Just a human being. And if you sit back and you listen to a lot of what these leaders have been calling for, I'm not here to defend them, disclaimer, but a lot of them are calling for our governments and for our communities to get engaged. The White House about 3 months ago had a red teaming event where they actually brought in people from the community, diverse members of the community, to test the biggest AI solutions out there for bias. And they found it. And then they worked to improve it. This technology, though the creators of it may be like some of those voices and names I mentioned before, it's owned by all of us. And we have to get engaged with it.
Yeah, it was an interesting question. Who owns it? And yeah, who was the wizard of it? I think we all have a part to play in it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Ooh, everybody's favorite character, the Tin Man.
What was the Tin Man missing? Does anyone remember? Good.
That's right.
And I guess this is at the heart of what we're talking about is making sure that when we as IT professionals designing our AI, that we design it with heart and human-centered. Because like the Tin Man, what did he lose again? I forgot my research. The Tin Man He lost some limbs, didn't he? I think so. Oil
can.
I got my characters mixed up.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah, and he needs a heart, but he already had one, as we know. And then we think we all have hearts. But sometimes I think when we design IT, we forget about the heart and soul of what we're trying to do.
It brings us right back to Hillary.
Exactly.
That video, look, my mom has macular degeneration. Love her with all my heart. She could have been Hillary in that video trying to get through and send a text message. Now, she has learned how to use emojis pretty well, which was surprising to me. But but nevertheless, like this is really real when we think about centering on human beings and then working from the human being back.
That's right. And I often say when I teach humanizing IT, because as I said, it's a course, is that our processes were written with us in mind. So if we look at the incident management process, for example, we say when the user logs a ticket, we log it, we categorize it, we prioritize it, we might escalate it, and then the ticket does this, and then we update the ticket. Where is the user in all of that? We never think about the user. Yeah, it's about what we're doing. And so what we want to do is ensure that those processes have a heart and write it from the user's perspective. And again, we teach in our courses, and again, in human-centered design, what is the user doing before the incident has happened? Right. Yeah. And they might not
just picked up the kids.
They might not be able to log a ticket because they might be frontline workers, or they might have an impairment, or they've tried the desk before and they didn't get the right response. And again, look at it from the user's point of view and then design the process. So, and as I said, we were all touched by that video of Hillary, and that's what I want us to do in IT service management when we're designing AI.
And I'll say, I know some of this sounds like so touchy-feely, but I'd like to anchor on one point. This is also the way I believe we make our roles in IT more resistant and resilient across change. Think about this for a second. Human beings, since the dawn of time, have always had a need to be warm. We might knock a few rocks together, rub some sticks together, like way, way, way back, right? Sooner or later, we figured out how to use logs, and steam came along, and electricity. And my daughter's telling me my next car has to be an electric vehicle, or she will disown me as her father. It's going to be her planet, so it's her right. But ultimately, we're going to find new ways to stay warm. That human need and experience to stay warm doesn't go away. It's persistent. The technology, the way we address these needs is constantly changing. So if we want to be persistent and have job security, we need to move closer to the human experience, which is going to be persistent and not as heavily indexed on the technology, which will always change.
That's right. And just to start summing up, we thought all witches were evil. Well, in fact, we have good witches. And what we want to say here is that the future is ours. And as I said, it's not doom and gloom, and AI is not going to take our jobs away and everything, but it will impact us. But how we shape that future, we can be like the wicked witch, or we could be the good witch and go with it and learn new skills and embrace it. And that's kind of how we wanted to end this. And I'm really, as I said, really passionate that IT professionals do learn human-centered design. I think it should be compulsory for all of us. And again, there's a course, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But again, I don't think without having an understanding and an education of what human-centered design is, we're not going to do a really great job.
Yeah, this is, everybody's wondering, how do I future-proof my job, Kat? You future-proof your careers by understanding human-centered design. Honestly, you do. So much else is outside of our control. I also think, and this is something we've discussed, is we've got to run towards this tech. Look, as somebody who's been in IT for his whole career, pet peeve of mine is when uninformed business users come and think that they're smarter about tech than I am. Can I get an amen on that? Okay, all right, right. So do we really want our business users to be ahead of us using this technology? Is that what's best for the business? Cool, we have a contrarian point of view. But ultimately, it's our charge, it's our responsibility. We have the mantle of being able to advise, consult, and guide our enterprises on all of this. So it's incumbent on us to embrace this technology, learn as much as we can about it, understand the risk, because they're a risk, understand the ways in which our business users will get themselves in trouble, because that's what they do, right? And get there ahead of them. So between this, embracing this tech and embracing human-centered design, I think those are really two linchpins.
Yep.
So we've got red shoes.
Click heels. Thank you. And we're nearly actually ready to go. We're right on time.
There's no place like home. We did come bearing gifts.
So we'd love for you to, so if you could scan that and we could get your details, that would be awesome. Because why we're doing that is, as I said, we're really passionate for education in this space. And our course called Humanizing IT talks about, it's very specific for IT. It's not just a human-centered design course, which we do, but it's for IT service management. And as I said, once you've registered, if we could go to the next slide.
Let's give
Got
it
all
a
that.
minute.
Just wait. Yeah.
Still see some cameras.
Yeah,
up,
it's cool.
Give it a second.
Or you can come up and speak to us anytime, please. We would love that.
And so ultimately, we will definitely be providing some free resources to bolster your education, both on the human-centered design side, as well as more around AI.
So as we said, there's a bearing gifts. So for our audience today, there's 20% off our online training course. And also, as we said, the books out there, I'd love for you to buy it also.
All right. So, Kat, keep me honest on time. Do we have a few minutes for Q&A? 10 minutes. I'm excited. All right.
But what I'm going to ask, though, because you know me, I would love to get a photo of everybody, if everyone's comfortable with that. You comfortable with that? Yay. All
right. So we'll run Q&A for 5 minutes and go and huddle for the photo.
You're the boss.
Am I, though? Am I? My daughter might say something different. So Q&A, open questions about AI, the future of IT service management AI. Any questions, concerns, any other points of view?
So with all the AIs that are coming out right now, which one, even if it's still in beta, is your top choice?
It's been superseded.
Yeah, I'm not going to win any awards for originality here. I'm still heavily using GPT-4. I'm excited. Did anybody see OpenAI's Dev Day? The ability to create your own GPT, super exciting. I do use Bard from time to time. And Pi, has anybody used Pi? So Pi almost gets so personal, it feels slightly creepy. But it's super fast though. It actually executes commands a lot faster in my personal experience than GPT-4, but I'm still heavily using ChatGPT.
There's a great one called Perplexity.ai that uses the same kind of models that GPT uses, and on top of it, it will also give you the references of where it's pulling its information from. So you can dig deeper and watch the YouTube videos, read the articles. Absolutely.
Awesome. Perplexity.ai.
I might put some people on the spot.
Oh, go for it.
Does anyone have any questions? Yes, Doug.
Another one over here.
Please.
So I'm a cat advocate, so I'm going to be clear, right?
And I've gone through the Humanizing IT course. It's a great course. Buy the book. Okay, so there's my endorsement. But you know, you're in front of a room of service management professionals, right? Yeah. And this stuff about process design has been hammered into our heads for 30 years. How do we break the mold? Can you give us any insights into how you've been successful in breaking the mold with organizations that are so process blind that we can't open ourselves up to the human experience?
How's that? Nice. That was awesome. Amazing. And thank you, my dear friend Doug. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions before I ask a question? That's called stalling for time. No, it's not. Just quickly. Daryl, how are you going?
I'm doing just fine.
What do you do?
I'm a service management consultant.
Right. Yeah. Right.
We have the same question going around the back of my head, how we break away from this traditional stepping stone structure that we go through.
Fantastic. I love it. And in a few words, what do you think is the biggest problem you see in IT service management?
Breaking the mold.
Breaking the mold.
Non-traditional, as much as you studied those 5,000 pages, I take it, it's got to be a practical approach. Throw the book out.
Throw the book out and start with experience.
Follow the road that's going to get you there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm just giving out some bags. So, yeah, there's a question over there.
Oh, sure.
What's the best AI right now for interacting with voice?
Hey, Matt. What's the best AI right now for interacting with voice? There you go.
There you go. Just giving out bags, some really useful ones too. Yeah.
So while we're teeing up those bags and we got the questions about the process, breaking out the processes, one observation I have is that ITIL has made us better. It's almost as if ITIL has taught humans how to be robots, and all of a sudden we have to reverse that. I'm just setting the stage for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Sorry, what Daryl said, absolutely. I think that we have followed process for decades, and don't get me wrong, and again, I'm sure you agree, Daryl, we need governance. We absolutely need that. We're not saying throw that away, but what we're saying is don't be dictated by a framework or frameworks, not just ITIL, that is quite old. I mean, do you know how old ITIL is, for example? In the 80s, and most people that I meet in IT weren't even born in that time. And again, it's just we really need to modernize it and throw away processes. We still need the governance, but think about the people side of how we do things. And I always like to say, your companies, big companies, not so big these days, use design thinking to understand their customers. They actually spend a lot of time and money investing in understanding their customers. And again, very briefly, I mentioned this yesterday, I work for Qantas and they create personas. Personas are representation of people. And they have personas such as a frequent flyer, an elderly couple, a backpacker, and a family. And see how there's 4 different types of people there. And experiences are created around that. And they spend a lot of money on that. And do we do that in IT service management? No. As I said yesterday, the only persona we have is a VIP.
White glove service, which is not always white glove.
And that's it. It's just the user. I mean, who is that user? Where are they? What's their technology skills? And AI can tell us that now. This is what I mean. Use AI to make IT service management better.
Yeah, and I do love that point. So, I mean, when we think about what you can do immediately following this talk today, one of those exercises is just carving out some time, maybe at your sprint retrospective, I don't know, but carving out some time to go ahead and create personas for those most persistent users in your organization, and then actually start addressing trends and challenges around them. As simple as that sounds, that can transform how IT service management shows up in your organization literally overnight.
That's right. Yeah. Any other questions before we do that photo? No. Well, thank you guys. As I said, I'm truly humbled by the amount of people that's attended this course. It's awesome, and your participation also. And thank you to my dear friend Wes. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you so much. Thank you.